time.
Hey, it is. Welcome to our 7th episode
This is episode 7.
of Practical AI, the place to be to learn all the latest news and trends on what's happening with Practical AI. And I've been, scouting the web for a while, and I found all kinds of interesting goodies for y'all today. And this is the place to be if you want to learn all the latest and the greatest, and more importantly, use it.
Yes, how can you use the information that is coming out daily? There's so much stuff happening. It's amazing. We're going to kick our show off today with a segment about Elon Musk, who was just a guest on the All In podcast, which hopefully some of our audience has heard of. But this is kind of the big news of the week. But he dropped some stuff that kind of caught me off guard. I didn't realize some of this stuff was happening. I can see how it connects to the future. I think you're really going to, it's going to get your wheels turning. Yeah. So let's dive into that first segment right now.
Yeah. So for the, you can watch it on YouTube. It already had 500,000 views in 24 hours when I was sort of looking through it. So he talks a lot about a lot of stuff, but I sort of took the most relevant parts to the audience. And so the first thing they talked about was the hardware, which is what they're saying is that Tesla's new AI5 chip offers up to 40 times performance improvement over AI4 by co-designing the AI software and hardware stack. So local inference is about to become powerful and affordable, bringing cloud-class AI capabilities to the edge. So 40 times faster, like, I mean, can we even imagine? It's already fast, but like, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think what it really means, because he mentions how the hardware and the software were designed in tandem. So the hardware has some greater capability, but you can only capture. You have to capture the additional capability that you have, or else it's worthless. It might be X times faster, but if your software can't do that, can't capture that, well, then you only gain whatever you can capture. Mm-hmm. So this is sort of the theme that we are seeing everywhere, and we're going to continue to see as hardware ramps up, but software has to ramp up in association with that to get the actual gains. But what I really like about this is this AI5 chip is designed to be a mobile chip. So this is something that's going to be in handheld devices that are widely distributed. This is not a data center thing. This is not like a big supercomputer. This is a node computer, a node chip. And that is bringing the power of AI inference, which is basically reasoning, to the palm of your hand.
So, and we talked about the edge, and we talked about his vision, I think 2 episodes ago. So check that out, because that is coming faster than we think it's happening. So, so would we actually need a cloud if when that happens?
So this is no, but this is really, to me, the biggest thing about AI that's useful. Like, how is it going to really be useful for us? To me, so what we have now, GPT, all these, they're centralized models. You go to them, you do some stuff, you get some answers. It's good for research and stuff like that, but it really, if we're being honest, it is not super useful outside of that context yet. Mm-hmm. There's certain specialized cases for like video and audio production where you can actually get some deliverables. But I think most of the audience probably not messing with that. Now, when stuff runs on the edge, though, it's running on a device that you have, and it's connected to your actual workflows. So you're not going to a centralized place and asking questions. You're actually undertaking some process in your actual flow of life and connecting the dots, connecting like what you're doing there with AI to your actual life output. Help me buy tickets to this thing in New York City or whatever. So that to me is the deliverable layer of this. It's like delivering AI in a way that it can actually be used. To me, like edge stuff is everything. This is the only place I'm looking where I'm like really interested. The big data center stuff, enterprise stuff, who cares? I want to know how AI is going to change the lives of normal humans.
Well, and one thing about Elon, love him or hate him, I have a lot of respect for the guy. But when I was reading this book, a book about him, he is very famous for trying to solve the whole problem. So he's not just solving the AI piece, he's solving like whatever he sees is the future, he's trying to solve the whole pie. So not just the software or the hardware, like when he designed his rockets, he was like, why do I have to do it this way? So or like the car, he had to completely unthink or rethink how Tesla was actually made. And I think he's doing the same thing here. And we're going to talk about that in a second, about what's coming for the cell phones. But like he's not just happy with having AI kind of out there. He actually wants to redefine how we actually use AI. And
yeah, his initiatives are connected, and that's what I think is most interesting about him. But real quick, I didn't make the final point about the cloud computing. Cloud computing is a centralized model. It's a big data center model.
Mm-hmm.
So, the emergence of edge AI, edge inference takes us away from that. So yeah, I would think that cloud computing would be, it will be shrinking to its limited use cases. It will still be useful in certain cases.
Right.
But I think for the average person, I think we're talking about edge stuff. That's really your future with AI.
They're definitely reimagining that whole thing. Now let's talk about Grok, right? So I use Grok for all the latest trends, and it's like my cool friend that knows a lot of things, and it has a lot of updated information, and it's using X for data, which has a lot of real-time information. So he talked about how XAI's Grok redefines web-scale data into Grodia, and I think it's a terrible name. But
yeah, Groedia, I think, or
Grodia.
Like media,
I think they got to figure out the different names.
They need a consonant in there,
right? By using inference compute to correct falsehoods, synthesize gaps, and improve the training data quality. So the key processes that he talked about. So what'd you say, Groedia?
Yeah, I put it up in the chat so people could see it.
So the process that he talks about, the verifies, corrects, and enhances data using AI simulations, use self-evaluation loops, and RLHF for iterative improvement, and works with multi-model inputs, PDFs, real-time posts, code, math, and more. And what that means is that the searches on XAI should be more truthful because it's running against a lot of other checks. But what do you make out of this? Like, what do you think about that?
So I think it's a fact checker, more or less. It is a way to say, okay, well, here's the information that this thing spit out. Now we need to analyze this information to see how accurate it is. So right now, I think most of these AI models are in stage one of that, where they gather the information, they spit it back to you. Now we're seeing a larger focus on, okay, well, let's check out the veracity of this information. Let's see how reliable this is. We're going to see this later in the show, but I like where this is heading. I kind of, we've talked about this stuff. We've talked about how AI is kind of a hype man, a yes man. It verifies what your priors are, which you bring to it, and that's a big cautionary sort of landscape. It makes sense that there'd be a reaction to this to say, hey, well, let's have the AI check itself. So we're going to be seeing more of that. This is very cool that it's in Grok. So like, to me, that makes it like mainstream. But they're saying like they're going to have something like truth scores.
Well, I mean, and what it's really cool for, it's for SEO, kind of like they're talking about reimagining SEO, right? So AI will prefer clean, verified, structured data over keyword-heavy noise. And what you talked about, the truth scores or AI readiness could become new ranking metrics. So instead of, I guess in the past, SEO was how many links or things were pointing to it. You know more about how the SEO truly was measured. So now it would be how verified of the source is it? And I'm very curious to see how that would actually happen in the real life. But
well, so like for example, with Google, you have a site that has a lot of inbound links to it. Google says, okay, this is a trustworthy site. Then over time, as that kind of became a larger landscape, they still got to do some sorting there. Then they got into this thing of like kind of king making, saying, oh, well, if this is from CNN, this is a trusted source. But if it's from this other outlet that we don't know as much about and doesn't have as much links, and we're not manually going in there and saying, oh, this is a high trust source, then we're going to bump them down. Okay. So not only do you have the general signals such as inbound links and existence of other pages on the topic, that kind of thing, you've got all those signals baked into Google. Then Google went in and did some manual stuff They're famous for this, going in, making manual edits, and then constantly releasing these updates to their engine to kind of keep things going. But what we've seen is a shrinking landscape. Now you search for anything, freaking Reddit is like the first result. It's a joke. I think we can all kind of agree on that, and we've seen that thing change over the years. What this signals to me, this Grok's truth scores or AI readiness scores for a particular web page, is it says that it introduces the promise of a newer, larger, more inclusive landscape for rankings. So Grok can do something like examine the social data that is associated with a particular bit of information or a web page and say, okay, well, this website may not be huge, may not have a bunch of inbound links, but there are a lot of social signals pointing to this source of information being relevant and accurate right now. So that is a larger scope than Google has ever been able to capture. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this. And like I said, we've said in previous episodes, the queries of the future are not going to be conducted in a Google search bar. They're going to be run through AIs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this type of ranking system, for lack of a better term that's more accurate in this new context, this is going to dominate. So that promises a change in the SEO landscape. No longer are you going to have situations like where there's a website called wpbeginner.com, ranks first for everything for WordPress. I mean, every query you can imagine, they're number one for WordPress. It's a completely dominant, monopolized landscape within Google, at least. That's not going to be the case anymore. You have another situation, which everyone's going to be familiar with, the top 10 whatevers for 2025. You go and examine the history of these pages, you actually find out that this page has existed for 7 years, and they just update it every year, change a couple of names. So the AIs will now be able to look at this and say, well, this does say the top 10 whatevers for 2025, but this page has existed for 7 years, and the content, there was only 4% of the whole content on the page changed for this year. So we're not sure this is super accurate or reliable. We think this has been a big SEO play. They'll be able to know this. They'll know that this was not produced new for this year, or they'll be able to say this thing changed 62%. This one's probably more reliable. They actually kept the URL, which makes sense, but then made tons of changes to the content. This is probably trustworthy. So that changes a lot of old playbook maneuvers.
So he talks about Gropedia because it's like a project. There will be a project, I guess, kind of like Wikipedia. That's probably what he's making a play on.
I took it.
And so one of the things I was thinking about, like auto verification plugins and things like that. So what you used to be able to game, right? Because there's a lot of gaming that happened with SEO. It's not a secret.
That is the game.
So now the game has become different. So when people are now, I see all this chatter, SEO, GEO is not real, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, okay, good luck, buddy. But with SEO, the rules are now changing. The game is now changing. So what do you think our viewers need to really kind of think about as this is becoming more and more accelerated?
I got to get real nerdy real quick to answer that question.
Okay.
So the way system design works is that a system is defined by whatever rules you present. If there's no rules, there's no system. So you start adding rules and you define what this system is. The problem is every time you introduce a rule, you introduce if you have a rule, you also create the existence of the ability to game that rule in some way. So every system has to deal with this. The problem is no matter what you do for normal SEO, for rankings and all that stuff, you've got opportunities to game, and the people who win will be the ones who try to game it the most. It always ends up there. You run the experiment long enough, this is where you end up. And you're not going to be able to get out of that with AI necessarily, but this does introduce a check layer that has not existed before to say, hey, there's a lot of gamesmanship going on. Be wary of what the information you're looking at here. Or show me the top 10 results that have the lowest gamesmanship score. Because that's like something that's you're trying to find information that's more authentic and has been produced more recently, not in an attempt to game it. So that was not possible before, but there's sort of the suggestion that this is going to be possible in the future.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Fascinating. All right. Well, let's move on. So the third part, unless you have something else to say on this.
I mean, as far as what viewers need to look out for, I mean, just produce real things. produce real things. You're going to need the technical SEO stuff. You're going to need the basic components of GEO to optimize for the future. So these AI agents will pick up your stuff and recommend it to people. But I think the genuine route is going to win. And what we're going to see, we're going to explore this later. The prompt landscape is going to explode, and prompts like that are getting, give me the 10 least gamified things for this query. That kind of thing is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. No, I love that. So third thing you talked about was that we care about is robots and LLMs and prompt-driven UX everywhere. So Tesla's Optimus robot is being designed with LLMs for real-world navigation, task execution, and natural interaction. So LLMs are no longer just chatbots. They're evolving into embodied AI, and this sets expectations for natural language first interfaces across all software. So what do you think that means to you, and why should we care?
Well, so there is, so in 2018, Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan and he talked about how he saw the explosion of mobile devices as a step backwards from the previous 10 years. He said, well, here's why. When we were typing on full keyboards, we could type, 110 words per minute or whatever it is. He said, but then when we went back to when mobile devices, we have to type with our thumbs and we can only type up to like 40 words per minute. He's like, that's a bandwidth problem. He's like, if you're thinking quickly, but your inputs are slower, this is a really frustrating situation to be in. And to me, this whole suggestion about natural language interfaces is a solution to the bandwidth problem. It not only solves the mobile problem with the thumbs, it solves the keyboard problem with the fingers. Everyone is going to talk rather than type. If you have the ability to speak, you're going to do that rather than type. So, clearly we're heading in that direction just because it's an efficiency thing. Like, that's a big efficiency gain. It's clearly going to happen.
Okay.
Mobile pushed us back and actually suppressed this, and still is. But I'm looking forward to a language first sort of dominant environment. And we're going to talk about this later in the show too. But what does it mean for interfaces?
Right. Should we be designing for prompts or not menus? I guess the menus are really going to be kind of irrelevant.
We'll explore some existing paradigms that maybe need to change a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Fascinating topic. And he talked about that this robot, I think at scale, he's saying like $20,000 to $25,000 or something like that. And I'm like, interesting. So that's like, I think if you like make a million of them, if I remember my numbers correctly. But so I was like, I didn't think $25,000. Like that's like a car?
I'd pay that much just to have somebody fold my laundry.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
Manuel Ramos has a comment here from LinkedIn. I want to address this. He says, if AI is going to be trusted in high stakes settings, it must know when it doesn't know. Hallucinations. And how to deal with paradoxical situations. What type of work is being done to address these issues in the future? We are going to cover that in a later segment as well. This is coming up now.
Yeah.
And it's pretty timely because, like I said, like 6 weeks ago, we were talking about how AIs are sort of just yes men, and this is already evolving to the point where we're putting some checks on that. So we will explore that later.
Yep. All right. Moving on with this episode. With the segment. The fourth thing you talked about. This was super interesting. Starlink is obviously it provides internet, for people now.
Satellite-based internet.
Right. But it's already doing that. But what they did this week, SpaceX has spent $17 billion acquiring spectrum to enable direct satellite to phone internet, bypassing mobile carriers. First device is expected in less than 2 years. What's coming? So Spectrum.
Well, hang on, let's talk about this. Has anyone even heard of this? They bought Spectrum.
Well, no, but not Spectrum, the company. And this is what it is. They bought I think it's the Dish Network. It's like a channel. How do I say this? Frequency where like Dish Network operator or something like that. So it's not.
Oh, they bought satellite spectrum, so a range, a broadcast range, essentially.
Yes. So
$17 billion.
Yes. So one Starlink account, global connectivity.
They bought it from EchoStar.
No roaming, no SIMs, full mobile bandwidth in remote and underserved areas, and it requires new chipsets and new phones. but Starlink and partners are building both. Again, he's not just playing in one space, he's playing in all of them. So next billion users will be mobile only, cloudless, and latency challenged.
I don't understand the latency challenge part of that, but we'll address this in a
They'll
little bit.
expect AI-powered tools just to work even without fiber or 5G, right? So bloatware will die in high latency environments. Legacy, software and all that stuff, they're just not built for this kind of future. And the AI native architecture will be winning. So interesting play, right? So there's 2 years, and knowing Elon is probably going to be, it could be even less because he doesn't like to move too slow. So things are happening. So what would that mean? It looks like the cell phones would not go away completely, but now AT&T and other cell phone companies are kind of a notice.
They would have some competition that they don't currently have.
Right.
So in urban development in the United States in particular, we went through an era. I'm not sure when this exactly started, but I know we used to put telephone lines and cable lines outside on telephone poles. We used to run wires everywhere, so there are wires all over the place. It was a big deal. There's old pictures in New York City, freaking wires everywhere. But in like 1905, just wires all over that. It's just gross. It ruins the view. And so at some point, we figured out that we could stick cables underground. And so it was an aesthetic win. And I think there was also some other advantages for like extending that system. You've only got room for so many wires. How can we keep building this thing out? We've got some problems. And that still happens underground, but at least you got it stuffed underground. It's not like a big eyesore. The deal with cell phone towers is pretty much the same. And there's other usability problems with the towers. They don't reach to everywhere. In areas with lots of hills, hoots and hollers, like Eastern Kentucky, it's challenging to get cell phone service everywhere. The locals know that you go down in this valley, you got nothing. So those towers don't really solve the problem of a true overlay over the whole terrain that gives connectivity. So is it the best solution? Probably not. A satellite service, though, offers a different potential, a greater blanket, if you will. And it seems like, a natural thing. And there's a history here, too, that I find very fascinating. So technological advancement, if we trace it back to like World War II, technological advancement started being deployed for military purposes. And it was that way for a long time. And then like by the 80s, they realized there's too much money in this. We need to make this like, a commerce thing for regular people. So then the technology advances shifted to the private sector where it was happening there. Now there's a push the other direction. If the audience has heard of Palmer Luckey, he's one of the guys doing this. They're now saying, hey, we've got a gap for military stuff. Now we need to take this technology from the private sector and deploy it for really cool stuff for the military again. So it's like this back and forth that's happened. And I see, so like SATCOM, which is satellite communications, that's been a military thing. SATCOMs never made it mainstream. It was cell phone towers. Well, right. Maybe SATCOMs need to be mainstream for regular people. So that is fascinating from that standpoint. But the next thing is the devices will be different. These are not SIM card enabled devices. They are fundamentally different devices. And with the other initiative with the AI 5 chip from Tesla, you can assume these devices will be running these, new fast quantitative chips built for AI.
I think iPhone, the latest version, may actually face some competition with the whatever phone Elon is going to make, phone or whatever device is going to be. I don't even know, edge device. It may not even be called the phone. Who knows? So that's interesting.
Platform shifts are the thing that, like, we think things like they've been going this way. We think things will never change, but those foundational platform shifts are what cause these massive changes. This feels like that.
Right. Fascinating. Moving on, finishing up kind of this part of this was a really, he talked for 45 minutes. So I highly recommend listening to that. So he talked about automation and prompt resistant businesses. So Musk says Optimus could cost, this is where he talks about 20,000 at scale, replacing many forms of labor. The robot's hands alone are more complex than the rest of the robot. As physical labor becomes prompt-driven, software tools must match the efficiency of hardware. AI will handle more workflows, and there's going to be a lot of shifting of the roles.
Let's repeat that, though. Software tools must match the efficiency of hardware. It doesn't matter if we get the greatest chip the world has ever seen. If the software can't take advantage of it, it doesn't matter. I'll use one more analogy that I've talked about in previous shows. When the Sega Genesis came out and Nintendo and Super Nintendo back in the day, the early games did not take full advantage of the capacity of the chips, even though it was small.
Mm-hmm.
As those platforms have been around for a little while, the developers learned to squeeze every ounce they could out of the chips they had. This is a never-ending thing. It doesn't just go away because suddenly our hardware is really good. We have done a very, very bad job over the last 20 years of capturing the potential of the hardware we have. Now we have an external pressure that demands that we do this. So interesting new age we're going into here. We need to build software that can squeeze the most out of these amazing chips that we're getting.
And that's why when you build on legacy software and trying to patch it up with AI, this is not going to work. It's like you're making a Frankenstein, right? So it's sort of like, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that's
a new language and you're not speaking it. Like, it's crazy.
Right. It's speaking different language. And then he finished it up with sort of the future of work and kind of the optimism. And he talked about having a child as an act of optimism about the future. He talked about a future of curiosity, exploration, and expansion gives life meaning. And then he says, even robots need direction. That direction comes from human goals. So when we have all this free time that we're going to free up, what are we going to do? And so that's kind of, it's going to be even more important to really, truly start asking those kind of questions at the end of the day. So what do you want to say kind of to wrap this up?
Well, we went to Tennessee when our son was 11 months old. And there's a picture. We stayed like in Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area. And we stayed in a cabin. And the cabin had a real nice view. And there's a picture of me holding my boy, standing on the balcony there. And he's just looking out over those mountains and pointing. And to me, that's the entire image that captures our lives with AI. The AI can do the work, but somebody's got to look out there and point where we're going to go.
We've got to have the pointers.
And that's what it means to me. That's what I see in my head when I think about this.
So meaningful work will become even more important because the busy work would be replaced by
we're just not doing the drudgery.
A lot more efficient beings. Yeah.
And so he makes the concomitant point there that it's curiosity. That's really one of the best traits you can have for the future. Like, be curious. Try what can we solve? What can we, we've got all these resources. Where do we deploy them? How can we deploy them to solve a new problem?
That's probably my biggest takeaway from all of this is, and I've talked about this before, curiosity is going to be one of the most important skills and things to develop in the future. It's going to be even more important. So any practical takeaways from this for those who are watching?
I say just go watch that thing. I like watching Elon talk because he speaks in a way where he doesn't like really lay it all out for you. He kind of just gives these little suggestions that you can do with them what you will. But I would encourage you to do that because he's pointing at a lot of the different facets of how this landscape is unfolding. You can kind of think about what it means to you. Yeah.
Well, next segment is actually what inspired the name of today's show. I saw this post on LinkedIn, I think, and it was Gemini product. I guess he's head of product.
Yeah, he's an AI executive
at Gemini. And what he said, should I just read the whole post?
He says the first two lines.
AI has a product problem, not a model problem. Models are making capability leaps every few weeks, but AI native product innovation has not kept up. Most products are forcing AI into existing UX patterns rather than rethinking an AI native experience from first principles.
I mean, I think he's being a little unfair.
Hold on. He parallels to early mobile. For years, mobile meant shrinking a website into your phone until Uber reimagined transportation. And to be clear, there are lots of amazing AI-first products, and he kind of talked about a couple of them that we'll talk in a little bit. But the pace of innovation on models has been faster for a lot of reasons, which he says he'll talk about in the future. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, the cart has to go before the horse. The hardware's the cart. And product, like software development, to take advantage of this stuff, That is, to me, that's the really hard work. Like the hardware work is difficult work as well, but the software work touches everybody. And there's going to be a lot of differences in like what you need for this industry versus that one. And you've got a lot of inertia there where like companies already have been doing one thing forever. And this suggestion that you got to redo it from the ground up, this is a big deal. That's
Yes. However, it's like gold rush, right? So like you're just crazy. Like we talk about this a lot. It's like companies, 95% of all AI, development so far haven't been working at big enterprise companies, yada, yada. It's like this big rush to take advantage of this without like what he's saying is that most products are just jamming AI into old workflows. Instead, we need to build from scratch AI native first principles UX. And that is what Elon has done, right? He always rethinks and questions everything. Why does it have to be here? Why does it have to be there? Why does it have to be the shape? Why? Well, that is not what I think is happening right now. People are not asking those questions because for whatever reasons it's not being rewarded or whatever. But I thought this is a very fascinating thing. And it's also funny coming from somebody at Google who haven't really been super, successful with a lot of their product launches and kind of what they're doing. So anyway, I just thought it was a very juicy topic to talk about. And then I also brought on the companies that are building AI first products so we can learn from them what makes them so.
So, I mean, this is the great refactoring. This is the great refactoring. So I think, when we're looking at something like the great refactoring and realizing this touches everything, I think it's crazy to say, oh, the hardware development's outpacing it. Yeah, dude, because we got to rebuild everything. I mean, imagine saying like this is equivalent to having a bunch of cities existing in a country with homes built, large buildings, roads,
are you
and
saying you can't
we got to rebuild it all.
You can't just do both at the same time. Like, can you think about like what am I doing? Like
you can, but can you convince all these people to ditch everything that they've built to get them to where they are?
I mean, they're going to have to realize that because clearly it's not going to work, right? I mean, and you've been preaching this since the beginning, right? The first principles, like you have to unthink everything.
You got to start. If it doesn't speak the native language of these AIs and make that connection very easy, very simple. Navigating, if you're trying to squeeze that through some existing layers of technical debt, like it's not going to work. You're going to lose to somebody who says, you know what, hitting the reset button, abandoning all this old crap, we're starting fresh. Those solutions that will be emerging and are already starting to emerge are going to win because they're going to have a lot less friction with the AI models.
Right. Well, so let's look at the companies he kind of put as examples that are AI native products, right? And like, what can we learn from them? Because they are truly sort of reinventing the workflows for what AI enables. And I only heard of Lovable. I haven't heard about the other ones. So NotebookLM. So have you heard of that one?
I've heard of Notebook, Lovable, Stitch, and Flow, but I really only kind of knew about Lovable. I didn't really know. I mean, I'd heard like, Flow's for video, but I never looked at it.
So he gave 4 examples: NotebookLM, Lovable, Stitch, and Flow. So go check them out. But basically what they all share, kind of what the criteria for AI first products, what they all have in common is, and this is not what he said, this is what kind of where I kind of went with this, with my curiosity. I wanted to find out what they all have in common. AI is the interface. It's not a feature. So that's interesting to me. Like, what does that look like? They rebuild the workflow, not retrofit all the UX. They minimize friction, fast path from idea to output. They adapt to the user, learn styles, needs, or inputs. They support multiple formats, text, video, audio, layout, and they empower non-experts. You don't need to be a developer, editor, or researcher. So those are the 6 things that they all have in common, those 4 tools.
So what does it mean for AI to be the interface? AI is the interface. What does that mean right now? To me, it just means that your primary means of interfacing with the software is through a prompt. You start with a prompt. and then you go from there.
Which could be overwhelming for somebody who doesn't really understand that. You're just staring at the blank.
Well, I mean, let's just say I give you a prompt and that's all you know contextually about what this thing is. What the heck's it do? So like you have to know like, oh, this is for building videos. Like you have to have just a little bit of prompting there so you know how to use the prompt. But it is fascinating. And we'll talk about this in a little bit. But like I'm thinking about what does this mean for some common interfaces that we've been using for the last 20 years? If it looks like this, how does some basic assumptions that we've made, how do those change? How does our, like, okay, instead of this kind of screen, it's this, and what happens after I do the prompt? Like that interaction is sort of kind of the future of UX. So we'll explore that in a little bit.
So, okay, what about the other ones? What do you think about all of the
rebuilding the workflow? Absolutely. If software is designed pretty well, the way you go through the way you traverse through the UI it parallels your workflow and what you're actually doing. Those two things are closely linked. But so to me, AI and a prompt-based interface offers kind of a way to shortcut. So let's imagine you're in WordPress and you want to go like edit a category. Well, you got to go in the admin, you got to go to the posts, then you got to go to categories or something like this. You got to drill down a few pages to get to where you want to go. With the prompt, you just say, this is where I want to go, and boom, you're taken right there. It's like an elevator that skips floors. So that changes things a little bit. That changes quite a few assumptions that we might otherwise make. So here's another example. If you have a website, you really need pages to live at a particular address so you can go retrieve them. Like you say, this thing lives here. It needs an address. But an admin interface doesn't necessarily need an address. It's nice to be able to like hack an admin interface with the URL bar and say like, go to admin/plugins/manage or whatever to manage my plugins. That's nice. But people don't really do that enough to make it like essential. And so what if the admin didn't really have any URLs at all? It was just a prompt that took you where you need to go. And there's another layer here. There's something called analysis paralysis that people face when they are presented with too many options. Basically, if you give somebody too many options, you say, hey, make a selection. There's too many options there. They get analysis paralysis and don't make a decision at all. They just want to bail. This gets worse if you are presenting options to somebody and they don't know what they all mean. If you have 6 options and you only know what 2 of them mean, you're only likely to click on one of those 2. The rest is just visual noise. Might make you uncomfortable because you're like, oh, crap, I don't know what this is. So this prompt first interface kind of makes it possible to not present a bunch of options to people that they don't understand. And then they ask for something and you only give them that. I don't think we are prepared for how much of a psychological advantage that could provide for users when you never see the stuff that you don't need to see. And then you might think, well, how can they make use of the software and use all the features? Well, you can ask. Can you do this? Oh, yeah, here. Oh, I had no idea. So, juicy stuff to think about there.
So clearly you don't agree with him, and you're like, okay, the progress that's being made, like we got to.
I just think he's being unfair to what really needs to happen.
Right, and little spicy, gotcha. And what legacy UX patterns are we still clinging to, and how would they look if redesigned from scratch?
I think I just kind of explored a little bit of that. Like we're used to having a bunch of options and this is all the stuff the software does. Click on the stuff you want. Well, maybe it shouldn't show anything. Right. Just a prompt. And then it gives you what you need. And it's not like address based. It's just the LLM just gives you what you need. mysite.com/admin. That's the only address I got.
I think that like, I'm just thinking about DMV, right? The getting the driver license, whatever. And I'm just thinking like, how would you rethink that whole thing? And I want to dream. I just want to come and say, I want a driver license, change my last name. How do I do that, right? And
my God.
And not spend a million hours trying to navigate their menu and figure out what that means and what paperwork I have to do, yada yada yada. And like to me, it's probably ways away, but like that would improve the quality of like that kind of prompt activity and being able to communicate and get it done. What a different world would we live in, you know?
Well, so I got to share this. So earlier this year, our oldest got his driver's license. And you have to go through this just cursed procedure of getting this paperwork, that paperwork, setting up this appointment, that. But when you go to the website to do this, like there's not like you would think every 16-year-old's got to get a driver's license. You think it'd be a big damn button. Get your driver's license here. Here's everything you need to know. False. Does not work that way at all. And so you have to make an appointment for your driver's test or something like this, an essential step in the process.
That's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it's nowhere to be found. It doesn't exist anywhere on the damn website.
Secret door.
And then it's behind a link that says like, C6 driver certification. There's just some ridiculous name for this thing that has nothing to do with what any normal person is thinking when they're trying to do this. Like I just imagine if you had just asked a prompt, the fact that they suck at organizing their website and organizing information suddenly becomes irrelevant. Like I need this. Like I am extremely good at organizing information. It is part of my job. It is like essential for me. But, so therefore I have an unreasonable standard when it comes to the organization of information. If you suck at this and I have to deal with your crappy system, I'm super frustrated.
Oh my God.
Please God, give me AIs for this because there's no way you're going to live up to my standard.
Yeah, no,
and I mean, that driver's license thing, my goodness.
Yeah, that's like the most painful, and I can only imagine with other things. Sometimes you have to look for button, and where is that, and how do I return this, and this and that, and like or how do I unsubscribe or cancel, and there's all these other things that you just have to go through. So lots of stuff to think about. But how would you organize? Like now you actually have to build pages for all of those steps, right?
Yeah.
So what would that look like if it's all prompted? Like it just would pull from somewhere else?
Well, so like the software might work like this. You would train the prompt and say, hey, if somebody wants to do user management inside the admin, then you run this function.
Okay.
And it will just ask the software, it'll run that function. That function returns a UI to do that.
But where's that information stored then? If
the information is stored in the database. Oh, the prompt information will be stored in that MCP server thing that we talked about last week.
Interesting. Okay.
At least for now, that's the way to get there that I see for now.
All right. Well, I'll stop there before you lose me. But fascinating topic, right? So, any other kind of takeaways or any kind of things you want to?
No, I just think that reimagining the user interface is that's going to be huge when it's voice powered. So I've been saying, like, if it's just a prompt, what if it's just a button to talk to the thing, and then it gives you back what you need? That's what it will be.
Well, that's where the smart builders who are building this, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I should have cooked up a visual. I thought about this. I'm just going to have like an SVG icon of a microphone inside like a circle. And like this, here's your new UX.
Well, I mean, I think you could like say, these are like offer a couple options, like choose your path or like ask my own thing. So for people who are absolutely have no creativity, what they want to ask, at least they can push that button to start the journey.
Yeah, I'm dying to go into some big meeting and say, like, ladies and gentlemen, your new interface, and it's just that one button with a microphone. Like, no, really, hear me out. This is the jam. Just
a little prompt, a little window. And well, that's what kind of ChatGPT is now. You ask whatever you want. So anyway, so whenever you hear someone say AI is the future, ask them this: is it in the product or just in the back end? So that's kind of the thing. So they basically will have to merge pretty soon, or those who are merging them with PageMotor, right? Like with what you're building right now, that's going to be a lot easier to do because it's all AI native anyway.
Well, you can imagine it's like a hotel. Like you got the concierge down there at the the first floor. You want to like, hey, I want to go do this. What I got to do? And the concierge hooks you up, tells you what you need to do. Yeah. It's like your navigator. If your interface doesn't have that in the future,
yeah,
it's going to be expected.
Well, speaking of, let's move on to the next segment, which is something that is the opposite of AI native. Is there's Matt, what's his last name again? Mullenweg. So he is a co-founder of WordPress, and he was on a show, WP Product Talk, talking about what WordPress is doing in AI development. not much, but I wanted to kind of bring this in because I wanted to sort of point out that what it means to different people, right? So they talk about playground or playscape. What is it called? Playground. And you are the wizard of WordPress, like you're the OG of WordPress. So you're gonna explain this better. There's two things they talk about: playground and Telex. What do you have to say about that? And what kind of trap is that?
All right. So this is, I sent out an email before the show. And in the email, I said, demos are done, frameworks are done, prototyping is kind of done. Prototyping is changing. It's now you prototype with the real thing. It's not like in automotive industry, we have a concept car that it's a one-off. It takes a lot of money and stuff to build, but then like maybe this will go into production, maybe not. This new landscape with AI is going to be the prototype that gets generated might be the end thing. This actually is the usable product, and we can iterate through this. So, a lot is spent on demos and anything like that. So if anyone is now talking about demos or just raw prototypes that can't be used, or like a Figma thing, like a wireframe, these are getting bypassed. Those steps are being cut out of the equation. Those aren't going to exist anymore. If we're talking about a digital product, it needs to be prompt to real thing, or it's not going to matter. And so with WordPress, they've got Telex, which generates WordPress blocks via prompts, but you still have to patch that process together. It generates a plugin for you. You have to take that plugin, unzip it, upload it to your, to upload the zip file to WordPress, install it, and then potentially perform any integrations or design integrations, because there is no connective layer between the block editor and the eventual theme design. That stinks. Then there's another initiative called Playground, which they're trying to hype up, but like I don't see any value in this at all. But you can spin up an entire WordPress environment in the browser with no setup, no hosting, no nothing. But you can't use it. You can't send the product. You can't ship it. You can't do squat. What's the point of this? What's the point? Like, this is the demo, the wireframe. We're done with this. That's the past. I don't care how you get to a demo or a wireframe. The bottom line with a demo or a wireframe is it's only got limited use. It's extremely limited use. Anyone who's ever shipped a live environment website knows that you can do all the planning and preparation in the world, but as soon as you go live, you discover a bunch of crap you didn't know was wrong, and then you spend the next however many weeks fixing all the holes. So I don't care about anything before that process. Until we hit live, nothing is real, nothing matters. So I want to get live as quickly as possible, because then we're actually solving the problems and getting this thing moving. So, AI gives us the ability to do rapid real prototyping, finished product prototyping. And why? So if that's true, if that's possible, why were we going to concern ourselves with anything else along that flow line? Like,
that's what I was thinking as I was reading that. I was like, there's so much hype in this. And that's why I was like, we got to talk about it, because, you can see behind the hype. That's why I call you the wizard of WordPress. You can see what's behind the curtain and what are they trying to do. But compared to what's actually going on in the world, I'm like, it's very confusing why they're so excited about it.
Well, Matt himself confirmed what I just said. He said iteration is where the real cost is. Yeah, no joke, buddy. So let's get there right away.
You're right. Anyway, good luck to them. So let's talk about Claude. Apparently, Microsoft is getting cozy with Anthropic for Office 365 tasks like spreadsheets and presentations, citing better output than GPT-5. Claude now creates fully functional Excel files, PDFs, and slide decks via natural language. So AI is no longer just about chat. It's about building finished deliverables. Speaking of product, Claude's structured output raises expectations for what AI should do, not just say. So this may not seem like a big deal for people, but like when I'm working with ChatGPT and it says, it builds me all this reporting and this and that, and then it puts it in the file, or a CSV file or whatever, it doesn't actually create me the ready to go product. I still have to take it and go with that. For example, I wanted to do what is it called? Carousels for LinkedIn. And I wanted just to do it. I just want my ChatGPT to do it. I don't want to go and do anything else. And right now it just can't do any of that. So I still have to take the output and go and do something with it. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. If I am, please tell me. And maybe there's a better way to do it. But I thought that was interesting that Microsoft, who is working with ChatGPT on a lot of things, they're actually looking at Claude to use it to actually ship products. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, think about it. You tell, like, you want to build some spreadsheet. It seems perfectly reasonable to be able to tell Claude, like, hey, just make this spreadsheet. So I think the key thing there is some sort of access layer between Claude and Office 365 that allows it to input data there. So that is a contextual highway, which we've been talking about in every show. That is a way to make AI actually get us to the endpoint, to get the result we want. I can't help but think about like the Ottoman Empire back in the day. The king writes a message and he's got to send it out to this city that's 70 miles away. He writes the message, does the wax seal, hands it to his messenger, who then has to go on horseback, hopefully not get killed, and deliver the message. What a pain in the ass.
Right.
That's what we're doing. Like, AI, here you go. Go deliver this message. Hope you don't get shot along the way. Ridiculous. The only thing that matters to me about that process is actually the delivering of the message.
Well,
Great,
I mean, there's a lot of things I do like about it. Obviously, it does a lot of work, but at the same time, like, I wanted to be finished product, and now I still have to go and actually build the carousel in probably some other tool. I don't know.
Yeah. It unless it's connected, it really has very limited value.
So it's interesting that it is getting real, that this needs to be somehow moved to that final output, step. So we'll see what happens.
We see along the direction like that where things are connected. Love it.
Yeah, I love it. Moving on, how to train your AI to say, I don't know. So
this is what Manuel was talking about earlier.
Yes. So I think that's interesting. I actually read the news somewhere in one of the newsletters that I was looking through for the show. And then Dharmesh had his weekly newsletter. I think he does it like twice a week, send out, where he talked about this. So what is happening here? So OpenAI and Georgia Tech dropped a truth bomb. AI models hallucinate not because they're dumb, but because we train them to guess. Their joint study reveals a fundamental flaw in model evaluation. Current training pipelines reward confident answers even if they're completely wrong. So the fix is you reward honesty over bluffing. Shocker, but it's like, what? This is very interesting fix. So here's what. So what do you think about all this before I kind of talk about what I actually did?
Well, I think I'm real bullish on the whole AI development, because what we continually see is like strong growth in one direction, or a lot of output in one direction, but then we see like a pullback to sort of restrain it and to like figure out and like get the reins on this thing, because it takes off and it can go anywhere, infinite speed almost. And then suddenly like, we need to pull brakes on this thing and kind of redirect it. And there's so much of that happening so fast. It's amazing. I mean, this is our 7th show, and I feel like we've seen a lot of back and forth already. Like, that's only 7 weeks. That's amazing.
So what I did, as if any curious AI user would do, I went and did it. Right. And so I built kind of Dharmesh has, by the way, if you're not signed up for his newsletter, I don't get paid for this. Sign up. Like, he really has a talent of taking something complex and explaining it in a very simple way, especially for our topic of practical AI. So just find him, Dharmesh, on X, and sign up for his stuff. But so what I did is I literally created an honest, what did I call it? Honest mode for what I do. So I built a bot using instructions that AI told me, and using the prompt that AI told me would kind of train my AI bot to tell me the truth. So I am actually addicted, because now it flags facts with verify if it doesn't know. So I told my AI, it's okay to not know. Just tell me which parts you're not sure with this verify things. And maybe I should put my prompt.
I'm putting it in the chat here to show people.
Right. So it was like, the prompt was like a couple lines long, but basically I just set up a chat bot and I said, this is the instructions. This is what you got to do. And now for our show today, I ran a bunch of stuff through this bot to make sure that it was correct. And I actually took a couple of the segments out because the claims were a lot more than there was actually truth to that. So I disqualified a bunch of things before the show because it couldn't verify a couple, things that people were claiming or whatever.
I got to throw a funny tidbit out there. So it's funny, our notes for the show this week, everything up to the show to this point, just normal. Everything after this segment has like verify and check source claims. You can tell where she got into it.
But I love it. And now I'm like, I think I'm going to do this with everything special that I put out in the public, because I don't want to look dumb when I do certain things that are not true. Because yes, AI is yes, it will tell me anything I want to hear. But now there are some things I did not want to hear that I saw there. I mean, I took the segment out that claimed that 55% of all searches now are happening in like ChatGPT or Google AI mode. And once I put it through the truth bot, it told me that was not true. And I was like, well, that's, I'm glad I did that.
Thanks for the lies.
Huh?
Well, thank you for the lies.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so that's what I did. I built the honest mode. So it softens confidence in uncertain output. It adds check source tags, and it alerts me to potentially ambiguity before publishing. And so I thought it was very interesting of like how to actually use it in my life, because I am putting information out there that I don't want to be, checking, is this true? Is this true all the time? So my chatbot now does it all the time for me.
You're already more responsible than an average modern journalist. It's amazing.
Well, I was curious how to do it. And for me, the answer that AI gave me is to build the actual bot with instructions, which anybody can do that. And then kind of use that.
I mean, already. I got to survey the results of that, right here. And I'm like, oh, I see. That's pretty compelling stuff. Like, that's really good. There is a whole theme here with using AI, especially with development. You've got to know what you're looking at. You've got to review the work and know what you're looking at to know, like, okay, this is probably reasonable. This is maybe not. This is flagging it, which serves two purposes. It draws your attention to things that you maybe need to look at, but it also serves as a reminder that you've still got a process to undertake here to ensure that this is, worth publishing under your name or whatever it is, or worth using.
Yeah.
So I think, gosh, it would almost be nice if they were built that way to begin with.
I'm actually wondering why it's not. But at the same
time, there was a confidence race and an affirmation race.
This is probably because AI is a tool. It's your responsibility to use it responsibly. So now I just told my bot, and I wonder if I can share my screen, but maybe.
I can bust it out.
How do I do that?
Well, I lost my mouse. Hang on. Lordy.
You can share yours?
Yeah, got to reconnect my mouse though.
It's okay.
No, I got it. Share screen.
But I wanted to show my actual chat, my bot.
Oh, your chat. Yeah, you'd have to.
So and then maybe I'll just play with that later, because I don't want to do this on live. So I just said your top priority is not just speed or fluency, it's trust and clarity. When you're uncertain about a fact, number, source, legal claim, pricing detail, or statistics, do not guess. Instead say, I'm not confident enough to answer that precisely. Would you like me to flag it for review? When generating content with factual elements, insert a verified tag after the sentence unless the fact is well known, grounded in source data, or user provided. If the user asks for a content draft, you may flag statements with uncertainty by using clear, soft notes. This figure may vary by region, verify, please check, all of that stuff. I am addicted. So fascinating and kind of is very highly recommended.
That's something you can use right away, and
Yep.
definitely probably should.
Yep. And then just at least put everything that's important through that, so that way you know for sure.
All right, let's roll on to the next segment. I'm going to do this one. Visa AI is rolling, or Visa's AI, team, I guess, is rolling out agents that are hoping to make e-commerce frictionless. This is a big deal for me. If you've ever built websites using e-commerce, this is the biggest deal in website development. This is it.
Tell us why.
The nature of the whole ecosystem is that sites have to make money in order to justify their existence at this point. You can't just have a little hobby website for nothing. It's going to cost you too much. Eventually it will die. It must make money. The problem is getting to that point is a massive pain in the butt. It's expensive, and that's not the worst part at all. The worst part is not the expense. The worst part is integrations to make it happen and to make it run smoothly. That's the worst part. That is really kind of the unsolved problem of web development that is constraining the landscape. There's a lot fewer outcomes than there wants to be because this step is so difficult. Now, Visa is building tools to let AI agents like ChatGPT or custom bots that you might build to directly initiate and manage payments on your behalf, on behalf of your business. These agents can do things like discover products, make purchases, renew subscriptions, and even manage refunds. Now, you can't do this without any developer input yet, but they're hoping to get there. But the deal is this is both sides of the coin. This is for the consumer and for the provider. It can work on the consumer's behalf. It can make purchases for you, something like that. If you have like recurring purchases that you make, you could just deploy this AI bot to do that, so you never have to think about it. But for the provider side, the business side, that's what I care about here, is that you can have subscription renewals and managing payments and all that stuff. Now, if you have a website that does this, your website runs something called a cron job, which requires programming. Like if you have an ecom plugin, it's doing this. It's checking to see that X amount of time has passed and that, these customer subscriptions now need to be renewed. It does a communications thing with, like via API, with PayPal or Stripe or whoever, and it initiates those payments and the whole thing keeps running. There's an extra layer there where it's tied into your products. If your product changes, the price changes, all that information has to be conveyed to the providers. All that stuff has to be kept up to date. When something expires, it's got to propagate through your system and make the things not work anymore or upgrade. People get more access. Like there is so much there. With this potential AI agent, you could basically be skipping a lot of those steps or maybe just provide information. So this is a paradigm we use in PageMotor where you give it a little bit of information, some sensible information. You say, hey, I want some options. And you speak a real clear data language. It's real simple. And it gives you the options back. It puts them in the interface. It saves them. It retrieves them. It does everything you need relevant to this. Well, I want to tell this Visa agent that I got this product for sale and this is the price. And as long as anybody signs up between these dates, this is the price and it's going to be a subscription renewal. And I just want to be able to ask this thing, hey, if the user comes to my site, I want to say, hey, is this guy's thing valid? Oh, it is. All right, rock on. And then we provide access throughout the system. I want to ask simple questions. I want to provide simple information. I do not want to do a bunch of complicated technical integrations and crap. I don't want to be doing these gymnastics on my end saying, well, how much time has passed since the user's subscription? What time zone are they in? So I can make it super fair. I don't want to be doing all this. Those calculations should be up to the provider. And Visa is suggesting that that is going to be possible. So what they promise, what's coming soon? Fully autonomous subscription management, refund handling, and renewals. So like a lot of payment stuff, you just say, hey, I need a renewal for this. It'll do it. Simple information exchange, you get the result you want without having to do the technical stuff. No code or zero dev lift is the goal, but current setups still require basic setup and API familiarity. I don't really see a way around that step yet. Hopefully they'll figure something out. I feel like you would at least have to like do the initial handshake to get it started. But hey, if that's all you got to do, that's paradise compared to what we have now. That's amazing. So auto renewing products without cron jobs, refunds and receipts managed by the agent, not you. That's great. I have to do this too. So I have an software store. And I have an added plugin to generate invoices and receipts for people who ask for it. Like, it's ridiculous. There's a decent amount of code in there. It's actually fairly tortured what has to happen. So I'm looking at PageMotor. I've got to build an e-commerce plugin for it, right? Suddenly I'm like, man, I don't really want to go too far down that path because I know there's a lot of crap, which I mostly just described, that I would have to deal with. And if that's going to be written out of the equation soon, it's not worth my time to do that. Maybe I should shift to this MCP thing and get your UI working off prompts and not worry about this until the solution comes down the pipeline. Interesting stuff there.
So what do you think is the takeaway here? Kind of besides, obviously, keep that in mind as you're building things. But
well, if I worked at Visa tomorrow, you bet your ass that's what I'd be doing. I would say, I want to take all the developer overhead. I want you to give me simple information. I give you everything you need about your transactions. That's it. It would have to operate on the API handshake right now. If that makes sense for the back and forth. Like, hey, is this customer valid right now? Yes. Okay. Whatever that transaction takes is worth it compared to the way things are right now. That is the same approach I take towards building like PageMotor so it can accept information from AIs and actually do something with it. Simple information exchanges. Wherever there is a stopgap between two parties, AI and PageMotor and Visa, wherever these things need to connect, if they're asking for anything more than a simple exchange of data, it's a failure. If they're saying you got to integrate all this technical crap on your website to get it to work, it's a failure. Not enough has been done to pave that highway to make it drivable. It's full of potholes. But there is absolutely nothing stopping every interaction between two separate parties from operating on a data exchange basis.
but what about security?
You can add a security layer and then you get like 2FA handshake or something like that. I don't care about that. I don't care about the security problem at all.
Well, I mean, you don't care until the money starts exchanging, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
Well, I don't care because those problems can be solved.
Okay.
Let's do the easiest, most efficient thing first, and then figure out how the security thing.
Well, it is nice that a big company like that is sort of leading the way here. So that's good.
Let's build the highways with no speed limits. And then once they're built and people are doing crazy stuff, then we can put some speed limits on them.
All right, sounds good. So I think this is our last segment before the funding part. So I thought that was interesting because it's very practical in this case. Community vetted AI prompts are the new plugins. So prompt marketplaces and community created prompt libraries are emerging as the next plugin ecosystem for AI. Instead of building custom apps, many creators are turning to shared battle-tested prompts that handle marketing, content strategy, ideation, and writing, often better than lightweight tools. So who are the key players for now, and what do we know? Hugging Face, the giant.
Nice name.
Again, I use my truth bot here just to kind of verify some things. There's claims out there that they have 130 million in 2024 in revenue. They don't just do prompts, they monetize APIs, hosting enterprise AI, but their spaces show how community built workflows can scale. What do you think about this?
Well, this is inevitable. All right, there's an old line on the internet that information wants to be free. That means it wants to get out there. If there's information, like say, go back in time to the medieval times, unless you figured out some new method of blacksmithing, right? It just requires a little bit of knowledge. You could tell a blacksmith this and they can now do it. That is really hard to stop. Like eventually that word's going to leak and everyone's going to catch on. It's important, but information wants to be free. It wants to break out of its chains. It wants to go everywhere that it's needed. Prompts are the same way. Prompts are the new information. Prompts are patterns. You know, it's not like every prompt is totally unique. There's like, oh, these prompts all fit in this pattern, larger pattern. These prompts all fit in this one. So there's lots of big patterns there. It makes sense that we should be reusing the very best prompts. Some people have spent time on this. They've refined them. They figured out that, oh, if you say it this way, you're going to get these skews in the results. But if you do this, then you really get a refined, like sharp knife edge on your results.
You're basically buying someone else's time they spent perfecting their prompt to get the result that they want.
If you can even buy it, information wants to be free. The price of those prompts is going to zero.
Hold on. So there's a company Hugging Face. There's Flow GPT. I mean, I didn't know there are certain things.
Well, I've got an idea for the wrapping layer that does monetize it.
So Flow GPT, it's a community library with 4 to 5 monthly visitors, 4 to 5 million monthly visits. They're likely doing between 2 and 5 million a year, mostly from premium content, which I thought that was interesting. And then there's prompt base that also kind of have Etsy for prompts, but they're smaller than the other two. So what I thought it was interesting, prompts as plugins, right? So WordPress themes, Zapier Zaps, prompts can be packaged, sold, and reused. And so like for Page Motor, this could be prompts to create certain pages and whatnot. That would be premium, I'm thinking, but maybe not.
Well, here's the deal. We've talked about this theme many times. Context is everything. The prompt itself gives you information. It's not worth anything unless you can stick it somewhere that matters.
Yeah, because once you share it, it can be copied for sure.
It can be copied, but do the people have the context within which to stick it? Do they have the highway they can drive on to get where they need to go?
The context becomes the key.
The context is the thing. So within Page Motor, I could have the MCP with all these prompts. I could sell you a package of these prompts, but they would be embedded right there in Page Motor, and the output would just work. It would be a deliverable, whereas the prompt is a demonstration of value. It is not a deliverable. The deliverable is worth paying for. The demonstration of value is not. So the cost of the demonstration, it goes to zero.
So there's free community prompts, and then there's the premium ones for certain premium features that would be embedded with the contacts of whatever you're building. Yeah. Interesting. So what do you think about, is prompt engineering replacing no code? So it's more complementary than replacement, but prompts package reasoning, no code packages, logic.
It's a new type of engineering. It straight up is a new type of engineering. So engineering modalities change all the time. Being a mechanical engineer is not really that useful anymore. Being a prompt engineer is. It's just the way it is. Things change.
Okay. So what do you think about, like, what's the takeaway here?
The takeaway is that, yeah, there's going to be all this noise around prompts. Prompts are super valuable. You are going to want the best prompts. But the only ones that are going to be of value are going to be ones that are packaged up and communicating with a context that allows you to deliver them for results. And that could look a lot of different ways. It could be one that a set of prompts that you buy that's not connected to anything, but you're able to use in emails or something like this.
Well, I mean, right. And a lot of those posts go viral. He did the best prompts to do whatever for this and this and this, and that makes sense. But what you're saying, that the moat would be the contacts. So whatever you're building, you have the contacts, can't say that word. Context, is that how you say it?
Yep.
That's the moat. That's the moat, and you can give away all kinds of prompts, but they don't matter without it.
This is the plugins of the future, because the reality is that in not too long, Page Motor is going to be writing. It's going to be the AI bot on there is going to be writing the plugins you need when you ask for them. You're not going to have to go to. You could go to a centralized repository or just search the larger internet and find something that you need and use it. That you could do that, but it's probably much more specific to your use case to say, oh, I need it to do exactly this. This prompt engine will create it, install it, and activate it, and then incorporate it onto your site, making that then the thing with the prompts. That's really the valuable thing to you now. You don't care about that plugin too much. It made it for you. The prompt made it for you. So the prompt is really the thing that gave you the value. Yeah. So instead of buying plugins, people are going to be buying the prompts that get them to where they need to go. The prompt is like the robo-taxi. You want to pay for that because you got to get to this destination.
So meanwhile, for things, that you may need some help, and like maybe get the experts that already played with that, go to the players that we talked about and play with some of the prompts. I mean, there's community libraries there that I'm guessing they're free. And so you can figure it out and save some time to yourself.
I think that's going to be huge in stuff like education. We're going to want the best educational prompts to coerce the right information out of the internet. So education, based communications, research, anything like that. There's a whole lot of potential capture there with just better prompts.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. It definitely helps to have a good prompt.
Image generation as well, all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of value there. I'm not trying to gloss over that.
Interesting. Yep. So play with that. You got this. Now, last but not least, let's talk about funding this week. So this week in AI funding, it wasn't just big, it was global. Over $5.3 billion poured into AI startups. And for once, Europe almost matched us. I know it's not a contest and competition, but it is. And so total AI funding was 5.3 billion. It is 48% of all startup dollars this past week. Think about it. Almost half of the money invested in the world went towards AI this past week. I think the boom is still crazy. That ends up being about 46 companies that raised money around the world. And US had 45%, Europe had 40%, China 7%. I'm still I don't know if they're sharing the truth.
We need a separate category for Chinese government spending.
I don't know, but we gotta go with that. So what happened in Europe? The big deal that is the majority of that is Mistral, which we talked about Mistral in the last episode, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, how to describe it?
It is supposed to be a privacy-focused AI. So it's an LLM that you can run that exists outside the context of ChatGPT, Grok, any of those. I believe it queries those, but it keeps your prompts and stuff private and separate, so they're not part of that. So it's like it's a way to reach out to the AI universe without information being related to exactly you. So like if your prompts were subpoenaed for court or something, they couldn't subpoena this information. So it's a privacy focused LLM that gives you a lot of outreach. They have a lot of tools for like embedding, for the MCPs, the whole bit. So it's sort of a whole ecosystem there for interfacing with AI, but in a way that is privacy first, which is clearly going to be a thing.
Yep. Then the second one with $1 billion, second place is Databricks. It's AI plus data platform for enterprises. Then it was Cognition with 400 million. In third place, that AI that can reason and write code.
That's crazy.
And then Strive Health got 300 million. That's AI powered kidney care platform.
I got to mention this real quick. So I had no idea how many Americans have to go in for weekly dialysis treatments because their kidneys don't work.
That's crazy.
It is a staggering number. I should have looked it up for the show. It's in the millions. That many people having to go to a dialysis center every single week. It's that big a part of their lives. So it makes total sense that there is an AI thing being developed to address this. If millions of Americans have to do this every week, you can just imagine the amount of dollars that go into this. Like clearly there's some cash.
Well, I mean, they just raised $300 million. There's America clearly has a kidney problem. Maybe it's everywhere, but it's just kind of like they're just, it's nice to see it's going to health. So that's good. And then the number 5 place, I'm not going to go over all of them, but the biggest one was Psi Quantum. And that's a quantum computing with AI integration. That's a whole other level of things. They got $1 billion. So for this week, the trends were generative AI and infrastructure, AI healthcare, and AI cybersecurity. Those are kind of the main themes of the week.
We kind of went back to basics, right? I mean, the healthcare thing's not going to go away. I've mentioned how practical that is. This is honestly one of the most practical and useful applications of AI, I think.
Yeah.
That's AI helping us. Makes a lot of sense. But the infrastructure thing, still huge, still dominant. That's the hardware side of the equation. That is not the software side. It's also not the edge side in this case, which is worth noting. And then we've got cybersecurity. There's always
well, I mean,
these annoying security types following that up. We got to think about this.
I need to dig into this, but have you heard of any quantum technologies like with practical applications yet?
Nothing yet. Nothing. Okay. No rubber meets the road kind of stuff.
That is the wild card that we still. I want to learn more about that, but I think it's still too wild for somebody to really be playing with that. But maybe AI is something that will make it more focused.
I'm sure we can get a little farther down that road with AI. But I want to point out that we are still in the the phase one infrastructure investment stage of this whole thing. Like, no matter how much you think AI has already improved and done all this stuff, we're still investing in the hardware part of the equation. All the capture is going to be done through the software and the great refactoring that is coming. And we're not even really there. The investment dollars aren't going there yet. Companies are only now finding out that their initiatives aren't working and they can't shoehorn into old systems. Like that is a slow turn. But when that turns, when that pivot happens, it is over. It's going to be off like a rocket. And we're not even there yet. And it's already capturing 48% of worldwide investment dollars.
Well, and the trend is there's a lot more actually implementers that are in the small size kind of business and the smaller teams that are playing with it. And I think that's where a lot of innovation will come from, right? It's a smaller.
That's the only place it can come from.
That
If you
will
have constraints, you can't do it.
Right. And so, and especially with MIT study that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that the big companies, they just don't have the same, I don't know, open mentality about it, or
they don't. They have too many existing constraints.
Innovations, yeah.
Yep.
So compared to last week, Anthropic was a big winner with 13 billion last week, but this week is a little bit healthy and more balanced. It's spread across multiple big deals, and Europe is back from vacation with funding, so hopefully they will get more dollars kind of flowing there. And we'll see more.
This is happening in France, despite the fact that they don't work from 1 to 3 p.m. I think it's amazing.
Listen, this is, I'm just the messenger here, just the messenger.
I tried to buy something in Europe. I was in France, in Paris, and it was like 1:30 p.m. And these guys were sitting in the store smoking, seeing me outside. I'm a dumb American there. I just had an espresso. I'm all charged up, and I want to buy like a burner cell phone or something. And these guys are just sitting there smoking. I'm tapping on the glass. Didn't get up. Didn't point to a sign like we're not open, but I just didn't give a damn.
No,
I'm still bitter. And I stayed around until they reopened later. And it was like 1 to 3 p.m. They were just sitting there smoking. And we're not, no business.
So before we wrap up with what's going on with Page Motor this week, how would you sum up today's episode? What are the most take this and use it sort of advice?
Take this and use it. Well, I think your prompt truth engineering is really immediately applicable for everybody, because everybody's kind of playing with these things. And almost everybody I've talked to has bumped into it's just saying, it's just gassing me up, whatever I tell it. It's like, yeah, go, buddy. Not super helpful. I think if you do any sort of or work with software at all, you really need to be thinking about what UIs of the future are going to look like. Just try to revisit some of your assumptions. Like, like I said, admins have like addresses like admin/editor. Well, what if it's just /admin and the prompt just replaces itself with the UI that you want? There is no actual address to go to. You just ask for a thing. Is there even a menu anymore? Or do you just ask this thing and it either has an answer for you and says, yeah, we have this, or now we can't do that right now? What does this look like? What does the front end look like for that matter? Do you need a website with a bunch of options? Because the same psychological principles apply on the front end that apply to the admin. I'm totally against nav menus on websites. You might think I'm totally against them. I'm not saying you shouldn't use one, not like that, but it introduces the possibility for analysis paralysis. It introduces the possibility of concepts that users don't understand. That's scary, which can hurt sales. It's clearly not the best answer. What do the best answers look like in this new landscape? Like, we need to be thinking about that. This is the early days. You can be a pioneer if you think about this stuff right now.
Yep.
And then also just being aware of the shift to edge computing, edge AI, away from the cloud. We do everything in a centralized way right now. We go ask ChatGPT, we go ask Grok, but the really useful, the way we use AI in the future that's going to be immediately useful and really valuable to us is not really going to be like that. It may be on websites and stuff, but like the device in your hand, when you're asking it how to navigate life, it's going to be a lot more real to you. And might want to think about ways that, your business, whatever, can take advantage of that kind of thing.
Yep. And as you watch this, drop in the comments once you finish, and I'd love to know what your takeaway was. What are you going to do with this? And keep on thinking what you know, because that's the true innovation. It's not going to be the new thin AI phone. It's going to be a completely different device that has nothing to do with the phone, and it's coming, and we know it's coming very
Yeah,
fast.
your new cell phone's not a cell phone.
Yeah,
So what is
I
it?
mean, mind blown.
Cat phone? I don't know.
Thanks for joining us. I would love for Chris to give us a little update on what PageMotor is doing for the beta people who are in the beta right now.
I'm just going to talk about it real quick. I dropped PageMotor 0.3 beta this week. It's a huge undertaking. That is now live in the PageMotor beta forums. It is a closed beta right now. It is a closed beta. My plan was to open the beta by the end of October, early November, to reopen it. But honestly, the show keeps changing things. As we do the show, things are changing. I thought I would do the ecom plugin, or at least get far down that road. For then, like now, I mean, I don't know. Like, I almost think it would be more valuable to start working on MCP and prompt engineering and getting the admin working that way, because that's clearly the direction of the future. If you can tell this thing what you want, it can say, oh, here's 3 new pages that all connect on your website. Here's a piece of content that's got your email opt-in form. It's all ready. It's all tied together. You can go in and edit or something if you want, but here it is. You rolled out a new initiative. Here's all the pages you need. Like, that's real compelling stuff. But at the same time, I also acknowledge that without ecom, sites are kind of worthless. Right. So, it's a tough little thing, but it sure is tempting to want to go down the AI UI landscape.
Well,
because,
what did you do this week? What happened this week with the update?
Well, I just sent it out on Wednesday, so it's barely been out. But I mean, there's total user management in PageMotor now. There's something called modular content, which is a way to create something like an email opt-in form and then deploy it wherever you want, whenever you want, within any piece of content. You can have it automatically display, like at the bottom of every page, this kind of thing. There is a whole new content management layer there that's really nice. It's real detailed, great UX on that. And a whole bunch of other optimizations. Okay. It's just fast and good, but whatever. That's for the users. But the reality is, people can build plugins for PageMotor to do things with AI, and that's kind of the playground aspect of it. That's super appealing to beta users right now. That has been the case already. That whole system is now improved even more. So there's more that the plugins can do. It's really cool. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. We're just having fun.
For those of you who don't know what PageMotor is, it's literally how you are going to do everything we talk about doing here. So
it's sort of a replacement for WordPress. It can build you a website, but it's going to do a lot more than that. It's going to be kind of your.
It's so much more than that. Oh my God, it's so much more than that. I'm so pumped about it. It's totally redesigned from scratch. I love it. Thanks for listening. We will be back next week with another show of the latest trends. And again, thanks for joining. The best case scenario, you'll build something cool. The worst case scenario, you will be the most interesting person at the dinner this weekend somewhere with the topics to discuss. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next Friday at 11.
See you guys. Thank you.
Bye.